Hello everyone, it's Michelle Lupton here, and today I'm sharing with you some cards that I've made for the September 2023 kit for Hero Arts and JOANN's. So in this kit we have the Halloween Peg Dolls 4x6 clear stamp set with the matching frame cuts dies with them. We have the Argyle pattern bold prints cling stamp, which is a really useful background stamp. We have these lovely neutral enamel dots which come in so handy. We have two ink cubes. We have the Onyx pigment ink cube and also the clear embossing and watermark ink cube. We have the cast iron embossing powder, which is a really cool embossing powder. We also have the pewter hero pearls, which it's like black but just adds a little bit of interest there with the pewter. Now we also have some cardstock. So we have two pieces of each of these colours, and the colours are the orange, the kiwi, the iris and the black cardstock. So I'm starting off, I've actually taken something not in the kit, but you might actually have these. These are the tags infinity dies from Hero Arts. But you could hand cut some tags, quite honestly, if you didn't have those dies. And I'm stamping I've cut out those tags in all of the four colours, and I'll come back to them a little bit later on. But I've got the three peg doll images here, and I'm inking them up with the Hero Arts intensified black ink. Now the reason I didn't use the ink cube in the kit for this is because I plan to colour these with some alcohol markers, and the intensified black ink is safe to use with alcohol markers, but the pigment ink cube not so much. I'll be using the pigment ink cube later on. So I have stamped those images and I'm now die cutting them out with the matching frame cuts that come in the kit. So here are my three little oh so cute images, and I'm just going to show you the colouring on one of them. But I'm using my Copic markers, starting with a very pale orange colour, just to sort of colour the bits that I think are going to be highlighted. Then I'm going in to the areas that I think will be a little bit more in shadow, a bit darker, with a much darker orange colour, much more close to an actual pumpkin colour here. Although, I mean, pumpkins come in all sorts of colours, don't they? So anyway, and I'm putting this colour in the sort of creases of this little pumpkin's costume, because I think that there would be a little bit of shadow there as well, and it helps to sort of create a more 3D look. Now I'm going in with an intermediate colour, somewhere in between, and I'm just using this to blend out some of the darker colour into the paler colour. And you can see that I'm going over all of the lines that I'd put of the darker colour. And then I'm going to go back with the original pale colour, and that will just help to blend everything together and get a much smoother blend of my colours there. Now we've got a few more little details to do with our cute little pumpkin here. So I've grabbed out a yellow-green marker, and I'm going to use this for all the greenery. So yeah, she's got a little sort of collar there that I thought would look really good in green. And again, I'm using a darker green to go in the bits that I think would be a little bit in shadow, or just to show a little bit of dimension there. And then blending out with the original green marker. Now for this little pumpkin, I decided I wanted to have her have relatively pale skin with pink rosy cheeks. So I'm using a very pale marker here. Again, I'm going to take a slightly darker marker to go all the way around her face, and go back with the original one to blend that colour out. I'm going to give her dark brown hair because I think I need a little bit more contrast there. There we go, it looks a little bit more definitive there, and I thought I'd use the same colour right along the base of this little peg doll. And last but not least, I'm adding some very, very pale pink to her rosy cheeks. Now with the other peg dolls, as you'll see, I didn't give them very pale skin. Little witch I've given green skin, and the little vampire I've given grey skin. So I'm now working on the tag. So I've actually stuck the tag to my MISTI with some repositionable adhesive, and I'm stamping in the embossing and watermark ink. And I'm just going to get a watermark image there, and I thought that looked really cool on the purple cardstock all by itself, so I decided to leave that as is. Now with this tag, I use the black ink that comes in the kit, but I'm actually going to take it one little step further, and I'm going to emboss it with that embossing powder that is in the kit. So it's the cast iron embossing powder. So it's still very dark, but oops, butterfingers me dropping my embossing powder there. It is very dark, and but it has this wonderful metallic shine to it. It's really, really cool in real life. Now you can see I've actually got some embossing powder in places that I didn't really want it, and I've got some areas that didn't really stamp very well, but I actually intended it to be that way, not with the stray embossing powder, but with the stamp not stamping perfectly. I didn't want to stamp it more than once. I wanted it to be a little bit rustic, because it doesn't really need to be perfectly crisp, because it's just in the background. So I wanted it to be a little bit more rough and ready. And with the stray embossing powder, it didn't really matter that much, because I knew I was going to be putting one of the peg dolls over the top of it, so that little boo-boo was going to be hidden. All right, with this one, I just stamped it with the black, so I didn't add any embossing powder. So all three of these backgrounds are slightly different to each other, even though they all have the same stamp in the background. Now I've just taken the leftover pieces that I used to create my tags in the first place, and I'm just cutting little strips. And I'm going to be putting these across the bottom of my tags, because I wanted each of my tags to have all three of these colours on it. And I ended up not using the black, but I'll keep that black cardstock for another project. Okay, so now I'm using those little strips that I've cut to just put a little border on the bottom of each of the tags. So on the purple tag, I've got the orange and the kiwi. On the kiwi tag, I've got the purple and the orange. And on the orange tag, I've got the kiwi and the purple. So that all three tags have all three colours. Just adds a little bit of interest there. All right, so I've got the bases of my cards here. I'm just trying to figure out there whether I wanted the tags to be on an angle or not. And now I'm moving on to the sentiments. So I've got 3 of the sentiments from the stamp set, and I'm using the black ink from the kit to stamp these sentiments, all 3 of them together, and then I'll just use a paper trimmer to cut them out. Now, something to remember is that this is a pigment ink, which is really great for sentiments, but you have to be aware it needs a little bit of time to dry. The good thing about pigment inks is that you can emboss over the top of them, so if I'd wanted to, I could have added some of that embossing powder over the top of it, but the fact that I didn't meant that I actually needed to leave these to dry just for a little bit of time, or you could use a heat tool to heat set them to make sure you don't accidentally smear them. All right, and you can see I'm just using my paper trimmer to cut these down just to simple rectangles pretty close to the edge of the sentiments, and then I'm going to start assembling my cards. All right, so I've got all 3 of those all done. Put my paper trimmer away, and let's start assembling these cards. So for each one, I've already added some foam tape behind the little peg dolls. I haven't taken the backer off the adhesive yet, because I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I want everything to go. But now that I've figured that out, I'm just going to be using some tape runner adhesive on the back of my tag. I'm going to place that down on an angle just to add a little bit of interest there. And you can see that I've cut the twine that I've added to the top of those tags, so it doesn't really overhang the top of the card very much. I didn't want it to sort of fold over the back. And then using the tape runner for the sentiment as well. Just this one I got on a little bit crooked, so I'm just going to fix this here and make sure it's on nice and straight. So I did the same for all 3. And now I just want to add a finishing touch. So I have these little enamel dots, and they come in this kit in white, grey and black. So on the very dark purple tag I decided to use the white because I thought it would stand out a little bit better on that purple. But for the other two I decided to use the black enamel dots. And I'm terrible with adding things like sequins and enamel dots. It always takes me ages to figure out exactly where I want to put them. So I tend to just default to the same arrangement, which is I put them on a diagonal. So in this case, top left and bottom right. And I either put 3 at the top and 2 at the bottom, or 2 at the top and 3 at the bottom. So that's what I went with today. Now, the very, very last step is I'm using some of these hero pearls. You can see the little witch and the little vampire have buttons on their outfits. So I've used the pearls to just add those little buttons on their outfits. So they're my cards for today. I hope you enjoyed seeing this. I hope you enjoy using the kit from JOANN's, and we'll see you back again next time. Bye.